Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jennie will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, Jennie Bellinger, your direct sales dom, helping you whip your business into shape. And today I have with me Moira Ní Ghallachóir. I hope I said that right, and she's going to correct me later if I didn't. But Moira is someone who I've known for, I think probably 3 years now. And what I love about Moira is that she shows entrepreneurs a really powerful pathway to enrolling more clients, making way more money, and having a globe-trotting lifestyle. I think since I've known her in 3 years, she's been, and this is including a pandemic, she's been in like 3 or 4 different countries since I've met her. And she does all of this without complicated strategies. So this allows these entrepreneurs to be able to finally enjoy the success and freedom that they started their business for in the first place. She started with being a youth worker living in London, making $30,000 a year, to being a business mentor, speaking and building a multiple 6-figure revenue in less than 3 years. She has captivated audiences worldwide and with her powerful presentations and her retreats in Paris and New York, and as well as her newest venture, stylish secret supper style gatherings for big thinking entrepreneurs to get their message out in a big way anywhere in the world. Welcome to the show, Moira.
Hello. Hi, Jennie. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Now, what I forgot to tell everybody is that you're from Ireland. So you have this wonderful Irish accent that I'm sure all my listeners are going to be so excited to get to hear.
Yeah, I'm from the northwest corner of Ireland. So right up at the top. Next stop, Norway, like right on the coast. And you said my name perfectly. Well done, Jennie.
Yes. Well, for the longest time, I think I had it off by one syllable. And I finally figured out, just pretend that the choir is a her. Gallachoir, right?
That's it. That's
awesome.
it.
Okay, there we go. And anybody who's listening to this has no idea. So go look at Moira's name and you'll understand why I said the choir is a her, and then you'll figure it out. So Moira, tell us, how did you go from being a youth worker in London to 3 years later making 6 figures, speaking and helping others get their message out there?
Yeah, great question. I mean, Jennie, I think I probably had that moment that maybe all women have when they're like getting close to 40 and they start looking at their lives and start thinking to themselves, is this it for me? Is this who I want to be? Is this where I want to be? And that happened to me while I was living in London, and I was a bit of a party girl, I won't lie. And all of a sudden, parties and fashion shows and travel and all that, it just didn't appeal to me, because I was just like, I really wanted to change the world when I was in my 20s. I really wanted to make a big impact. And here I was, bored in a job that I had made a big difference in for sure. And I started thinking to myself, what is next for me? So I did what every girl would do in my situation. I took myself out of London into a fresh city. I went to Paris for the weekend. It was my birthday. I took my journal and I started writing about what I wanted and what I didn't want. And while sitting there in that coffee shop in Paris, I figured that I wanted to leave my job, start over and move back home to Ireland, which, was a huge decision at the time because it was a recession and I had a great job. And why would I move back to Ireland? Because there's nothing going on there. But when I moved back to Ireland, I very quickly realized that there were so many problems I could solve in terms of helping business owners, because I could see nothing but businesses closing. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something about this. So the rest is kind of history, Jennie. I jumped into entrepreneurship. And then I started working with businesses, and I was on such a mission to really build a lifestyle for myself that I was so driven to work and to help people that literally within years of doing that, my business started making 30,000 a month, which was the same as what I was making in my job in London. So it just goes to show you, when a woman gets on a mission, nothing stands in her way.
Absolutely. And I know that for the listeners of this show, they are all action takers. And I know this because they reach out to me. They tell me when they've enjoyed a particular interview, and they share with me, hey, when you asked so-and-so for this tip, I went and implemented it right away. So knowing this, I recognize that if there are listeners in the audience right now who are interested in getting a message out to their potential audience, that you're the perfect person to help them get started with that, because this is what you've been doing now for years, as long as I've known you. And so in helping people start taking that step, I mean, do they already have to have their message figured out, ready to go? Or do they just need to have the desire to begin speaking so that you can help them? Where are your clients in that process?
Yeah, great question. I mean, the simple answer to this for me is to really start speaking tomorrow. Any possibility you have with who you are right now, where you're offering what you have to offer right now, just start speaking straight away. Do I think you need to have a powerful message and a great offer, and you need to understand making offers from stage? Yes. But I think more than anything, get started, because I'm a huge fan of failing forward, Jenny.
Yes.
I'm not one of these people who like to get everything perfect before they go. I for sure did not know anything about speaking or growing a business before I got my first clients, but I just kept leading with, how can I help you? How can I serve you? So for your clients that are listening right now, start looking around in your local area and the networks that you're in, and start seeing where the opportunities to speak are. And I have a 3-step formula for that. And I call it attend, ask, ascend. And that basically means that your biggest asset when it comes to speaking is familiarity and curiosity, right? So if you're decided you're doing this, start looking around. What groups are you in? What groups could you speak at? Who do you know that lead groups? Who do you know that could know about events? And start reaching out to them and start attending these events. Just start paying attention to what you see happening in these rooms, right? Because when people are fully decided that they want to do this, I know that the people that are in your community, that they're smart, they're action takers, right? They've already got their business to a certain level. So be smart enough to go attend events and start watching. What are these speakers doing? What do you like? What do you not like? And of course, you can model them from there. But the biggest asset, I think, in attending is getting familiar with the event hosts and the audiences, seeing what they struggle with. And then the second part of this is start asking for opportunities based on what you learned from attending some events. So you're not just going up to an event host and say, hey, you don't know me. Can I speak at your event? No, don't do that. Hey, you know me, I've been coming to your event, I've been paying attention to your audiences, and I've been paying attention to some of the speakers that you have here. And I really feel that me doing a presentation on XYZ would be really valuable to your audience, because I've done some research and I know this is an area that they're both interested in and that they have problems in. Would that be something that could interest you? Right?
Yes. Yeah. And I want to put an exclamation point on this, because this is exactly how I ended up building my business, not on purpose. I just was looking for a way to let people know that my direct sales business existed, that I was in business, because even people in my local area did not know that I was now in business. Everyone knew me as the science teacher before,
Wow.
And so I went to the local chamber of commerce. I joined the local chamber of commerce. I started attending as many of those events that they had. Now, my local chamber has 3 events every single month. There's one in the morning, there's one at lunch, and there's one in the evening every single month, because they're trying to hit all of those different timeframes that people may or may not be available. And what I was able to do was find out that they offer speaking opportunities at their morning event. And so I asked if I could speak about network marketing, just in general, saying, let me explain to people what network marketing is, because there's this big belief that all network marketing is a pyramid scheme. And if I could, I'd like to be able to address that with people in the audience, because then people who feel that way maybe will at least be more open to my way of business. So that's what I went into, because I was encountering a lot of people in the chamber who were kind of skeptical about the business model. Right. So Moira, this is absolutely right. Attend, and then ask. And that's what I did. And I got the approval. Now, what's the ascend part? How do we go from asking to ascending?
Absolutely. I love that. And, this is where, it's the simple, most powerful things that are going to be the most profitable things in your business. And right now, a lot of entrepreneurs, they think it needs to be harder. So they're looking for more complicated things to do, but just do exactly what Jennie just said right now. And then if you do that, well, the ascension comes in from if you then get the opportunities, right? If you get the opportunities, then you're going to be then you're going to position yourself as the expert in your field, and you're going to start growing your business. Because by standing in front of the room, you're automatically an authority. You're automatically somebody people should listen to and follow and buy from, right? And then understand from there that it grows one stage at a time, one event at a time, one client at a time, one offer at a time, and create consistency within that, because consistency is going to lead to momentum. And the momentum in your ascension as a speaker, as a leader, as a change maker, a money maker, and if you're smart and you want to build a lifestyle from this, a traveler. Because these rooms that we're talking about you attending, each one of these rooms is going to have an international connection. And I just want to say there's a chamber in every city in the world, right? It's not just in your local area. There's a BNI all over the world. There's women in business groups all over the world. And the ascension for me comes in from you not stopping at one stage, that you keep going, you create momentum, and then you ascend as a speaker, you ascend as a leader. And if if you really want to travel, you can then start setting your sights higher and start looking at events that are outside of your country, outside of your state. Like for me, I had my eye on New York. I had my eyes on Paris. I had my eyes on Australia. I had my eyes on Bali. And I think the easiest way to do this is to know where you want to go. Know the stages that you want to speak on. Don't just leave it to chance. Don't just say, hey, I want to speak. Get down into the nitty gritty. What events? Where are they? Who do you know that already speaks at them? How can you get an introduction for them? That's how this works. And that's how you're going to ascend with this.
Ah, I love it. And what I want to point out is whomever is booking you as the speaker at your event, they know other people who are booking speakers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
100%, 100%, if not multiple. So they'll have multiple introductions. So if you do a good job and you leverage that gig by asking the event host if they can make any other connections and asking the audience, well, then you're going to fly.
Yeah, I think that, and that's the key, is to put that out, not just to the event host, but also to the audience, and say, I'd like to get if you found value from this, I'd like to get this in front of more people. Who do you know? Where else can I speak? And people will come up and share with you that opportunity for certain, because this podcast alone has been a great platform where, I've now received requests to go do other talks on other podcasts, on other summits, where I have the opportunity to share my message with people, so I can help build up more badass moms who are in direct sales. So helping them out with that. So, and I do have to let everybody know, Moira, because this to me was absolutely hilarious. So you also run a clubhouse every Wednesday, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You've got your clubhouse running every Wednesday. And for those of you who are here in the States, it happens at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. And she talks about different topics in relation to speaking. And one of the very first clubhouse one of the very first times I was able to get on, she was talking about how podcasting is a speaking gig. And I literally had this facepalm moment, everybody. I want you guys to think about this. I remember standing in my living room and she's like, and podcast is a speaking gig. And I literally was like, oh my God, it is. I didn't have my microphone turned on, but if I did, you would have heard me go, oh my God, you're right. I just remember having that facepalm moment because I just see it as podcast. I didn't see it as a quote unquote speaking opportunity. So listener, if you're wondering, where can I begin to speak? Reach out to me, guys. I have a platform where I can put you in front of people. Let's have a conversation about your message and give you this opportunity to start your speaking here. You're already a listener. You already know that I'm a really fun interviewer. Come on. You know, I'm fun, right? So feel free to reach out. And if speaking is something that is on your heart, but you're not quite sure where to start, reach out to me, reach out to Moira, get started here on this platform, talk to Moira about how you can clarify that message, clarify that offer, because really I've just got this great platform for you. She's really the one who can move you forward in that speaking opportunity. So Moira, as you've told your story about all of this, would you share with us the story of one of your favorite clients that you've worked with and move them from obscurity to a globetrotting lifestyle?
Yeah, I do love that story though, from that day in that clubhouse when you had that. And I genuinely believe that lots of leaders like yourself have that moment because they just don't identify it. And didn't you tell me afterwards that you ended up getting booked as a speaker because through something else? Because then you started to talk about speaking. Did you share that with me as well, Jenny?
Yeah. From that, I then because you already brought up BNI, and my listeners all know I've been a member for 11 years. And so I put in my BNI one-to-one kit. So whenever I have a new one-to-one with somebody that I've never met before, I send them this little sheet that tells them a little bit about me, about my business. So we don't have to waste time during the meeting talking about that. They can pre-read that. And on there, one of the things that I put on there is one of the ways that people can help me is by getting me on to speaking gigs. They can be international, they can be local. I'm just looking to get in front of audiences who are, entrepreneurs, especially those in the network marketing and direct sales space. And when I put that on my one-to-one sheet, someone in Nigeria, the executive director of BNI Nigeria, and I had a one-to-one, and he saw that on there and he said, we've got an opportunity for you. Would you like to come speak to our people here in Nigeria? We'd love to hear you and your experience and share that with people here, because we do have network marketing here in Nigeria. And so now I'm going to be speaking in Nigeria later this year in late 2021.
Love it. Check you out, international speaker now.
I know. I can't believe it. It's going to be a virtual speaking gig at this point in time, is my understanding, because they're not actually getting together in person, right. Which is understandable given what is still going on in the world at this point in time. But it doesn't matter, because I was able to put that out on Facebook. And then I'm sure from that, especially once I actually do the speaking gig and say, okay, guys, I just spoke in Nigeria and so where else can I go? What other countries can I add to my list? Because I've spoken in Missouri, I've spoken in Illinois, I've now done a speaking gig and training gig up in New York. Where's next after Nigeria?
Nigeria,
right? But that's that whole action piece.
For sure. And you know what? That night that, as long as you leverage that Nigerian gig, it'll probably get you multiple gigs around that continent,
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Gigs lead to gigs. So that sounds like just a phenomenal opportunity for you. But just going back to your question about, somebody who has created the globe-trotting lifestyle, and obviously with the way the world has been, travel has been less, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't move around the world. Because as you know, I've moved around the world and a couple of my clients have as well. But what's really important to remember, I think, is that, speaking, you can do this through speaking virtually, or you can do this through speaking live, right? So when I moved to Bali earlier this year, I had spent about 3 to 6 months in the months prior to that really booking myself hard on as many virtual stages as possible. So then I rented myself a beautiful villa in Bali and just went there and delivered those live trainings online, right? So that's one way that you can have your globetrotting lifestyle for this. And then another way is obviously, actually going to different countries and speaking in them. And one of my clients who's doing that right now, Sarah Gray, if anybody knows her, she's like the webinar revolution queen. So when I started working with Sarah, Sarah was like, she was organizing an event that she was selling tickets to that were €100, and she was putting 100 people into the event, which was brilliant, and making 10,000. But she was only able to do it once every 6 months, right? So we turned her business model on its head and showed her how then to sell the formula for what she was doing to entrepreneurs at 10,000, as opposed to doing it herself. And her business took off in such a huge, phenomenal way. And then she's now focused on hosting webinars. Now, she just moved herself over to Spain, and now she's in Spain, and now we're creating a speaking tour for her all around Europe. So she's created this international Facebook group. So what we're going to do is we're going to leverage the contacts in the different cities that she has for her now to create her own events around these different cities, as well as speaking at other women in business groups and entrepreneurial groups around the world. So really, the world is your oyster with this. I think it really comes down to you deciding what you want. How do you want this to look? Do you want to go to South Africa? Okay, let's look at creating some opportunities for you in South Africa. Or you want to go around Europe? Okay, great. Let's look at creating some opportunities for you around Europe. Because the reality is we're just so connected now, right? Like you could jump into Facebook and say, hey, I'm looking for a contact in XYZ. And you would probably get it within 15 minutes.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
But I think what people are lacking is the big dream. And I think this is where a lot of people fall down. Like they don't have that big dream of what, especially as speakers, of what they want this to look like. So I think it's about dreaming big, deciding where you want your business to take you. Like I wanted my business to take me to London, to Paris, New York, to Bali, to Australia. And guess what? I went there, and only for the pandemic happened in March of 2020, I would have been speaking on a stage in Tokyo in Japan, because again, I was just like, I want to go to Japan. Are there entrepreneurial groups in Japan? Yes. Am I connected to any? Yes. Will they have me as a speaker? They said yes. It's like the opportunities are just everywhere. But I think it starts with us and deciding that we're the type of person that can have that, can be that, and that we can make our dreams come true with our businesses.
I love that idea. And I know that not everybody who's listening has a goal to hit a globe-trotting lifestyle. But here's the thing, even if that is not your goal, speaking is a great way to help build your business. Like I said, it was really what launched my business here locally for me in the St. Louis area, just by starting with this one chamber event, led me to another chamber event, led me to another, because then I became known as the person to speak when it came to direct sales, because I wasn't talking about my business, but interestingly enough, then people wanted to know which company I was with. What did I sell? How was I doing business? And then they wanted, it turned into business for me just by doing that. So Moira, one of the cool things that you really have to offer though, and I really thank you for sharing this with my badass crew here, which is you have the 11 keys to finding speaking gigs online. So this is an opportunity for them to very quickly go grab this checklist that you have, right? That shares with them where they can find speaking gigs. Is that right?
Yeah. And you know what? I've put my heart and soul into this little guide here. It's absolute rocket fuel if you're serious about finding stages, paid stages, your own stages, free stages, creating stages, shared stages. It's all in there. And I put in lots of insider tips and tricks of how you can get booked and find more of them. So this is literally what I teach my clients in that guide. So if you're serious, if you really want this, even if you just want to find your first gig, this is the guide to go to. It's really, really amazing, if I do say so myself.
And I have to agree, because I made sure that I went and checked it out, because my audience knows that I don't just have anybody on the show. And so I went and checked out the guide, and I've already flipped through it. I haven't read it in depth, but based on what I already saw, I was like, ooh, I could be doing that. Ooh, I could be doing that too. Right. And so I will be already implementing some of those things from that guide. And so thank you so much for sharing that with everybody. I really appreciate that. So if you are listener right now, if you're interested in getting access to this, all you have to do is get into the show notes. There's a link that says 11 keys to finding speaking gigs online. And that link will take you directly to the download spot where Moira will send you the information directly to your email. So that way you don't have to go search for it. And where do I download it? And where do I find it? She's just going to email it right to you guys. So make sure you go click on that link and let Moira know where she can email this guide to you. So, and if you're new to the show and you've never had to go find the show notes, all you have to do is make sure that number one, you're not driving your car. Grab your phone or however it is that you are listening to this podcast right now, grab the episode, click on my picture, and then just scroll up and you will see the show notes below there. And you can go grab that link so that you can get the 11 keys to finding speaking gigs online from Moira. So Moira, I know you are super busy and it is late where you are. So I don't want to keep you too much longer. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome, Jenny. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And it's absolutely a pleasure to share this with your audiences so that they can get out into the world in a bigger or better way as well. So I love it. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, if any of your audience ever want to reach out to me, even if you have a gig and you just don't know what to do about it, my PM box on Facebook or my inbox is always open for questions, especially from Jenny's community.
Oh, yeah. So if you guys want, now you know how to spell her name, go find her on Facebook. Her link to her Facebook page is also in the show notes. So you can just click directly on that, go friend request her, let her know that you heard her here on the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Show. And if you have a question about speaking online, ask her the question. So appreciate you, Moira. And I love that we get to continue to work together.
Me too, Jenny. Me too. And here's to a brilliant rest of year for all of us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, listener, for being here because you guys know how this goes. Stay tuned because there is another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.